You are listening to the Intelligent Vocalist Podcast, episode 170.
Welcome to the Intelligent Vocalist with John Henny. This is the podcast dedicated to help you be a smarter, better, more informed singer. And now, your host for the Intelligent Vocalist, John Henny.
Hey there, this is John Henny. Welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Vocalist. I do so appreciate you spending your precious listening time with me. Today, I am very happy to welcome Daniel Formica to the podcast. I've known Daniel for a long time now, and Daniel is someone I wanted on because he is a singer who performs with top flight musicians. The current band that he is in has former members of Boston, Jefferson Starship, and Whitesnake. And Daniel was previously in a group called Boogie Nights, which in the LA scene was one of the absolute top corporate bands. I performed in that same scene, and Boogie Nights had gigs way better than the gigs that I was getting, I will tell you. And Daniel has an interesting story because he's really had to work hard at his voice. And that's the main reason I wanted him on the podcast, is to really share his vocal journey. And when you see somebody who seems to sing effortlessly, there's a lot of work behind that. We talk a bit about the current professional scene, actually pre-coronavirus, because obviously things have radically changed, but just changes in the business. And then we go into his journey and the different teachers that he's gone through, as well as his teaching style. Daniel now teaches, and he's a very gifted teacher. And I do encourage you to go check him out on YouTube. Look up Daniel Formica, and you will be able to enjoy examples of his singing. He's quite good. So without further delay, here is Daniel Formica. I am on with Daniel Formica. Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Good to have you, man.
Cool.
So one of the things the reason I really wanted to get you on here is, as a voice teacher, you are still out there performing, or at least when there used to be performances before we all went into quarantine. But and I want to talk about just the level of work it takes to stay consistent as a performing singer.
Yeah. I mean, I would say now it's changed a lot. It's changed a real lot since 2008. Like, that was a huge, people I know I've talked about it a little bit, but there was definitely, I noticed a huge change, and that seems so long ago. It was a long time ago, but the whole landscape changed. Before, if I was a part of like a wedding corporate band kind of thing, like a production company, a couple of those, and then I was always part of a Perfect World Entertainment, which was the Boogie Nights and Spasmatics, Metal Shop, and all those bands.
I remember Boogie Nights.
Yeah, there was always tons of work. It was great. Like, I did that gig for 23 years. Like, and I'm still like part of it, but there's just really no calls. I maybe get 1 or 2 calls a year, you know. But I mean, it was really, and there was a lot of people involved in it. Like, we had bands all over the country. So I did it in New York. I did it in Atlanta. I did it in Chicago. Lived in these places, and I would just work 4 or 5 days a week. And you always had work. It was great. And then, you know, saturation of the market hits, and a lot of other bands start doing it. And then as time went on, like, that's why I got involved in some wedding bands. I wanted to see what else was out there when I got back out to Los Angeles. And I got involved in some cool wedding corporate bands, and still doing the Boogie Nights and that stuff. And then 2008 hit, the crash, and that kind of took some gigs away here and there. And what I noticed, there was a bump in the work, and then there was like, it steadied out. And if you weren't like in the Boogie Nights, there's, you know, not A band, B band, but there's this band there's like 4 or 5 bands, say, in LA, you know, you got that kind of a thing. And now the 4th band wasn't working that much, you know, and now the 3rd band's not working, but you got to keep the main guys, got to keep working, you know, keep that happening. And it just kind of starts to be everyone's grasping for straw. Everyone's trying, I got to get. And So a few years after that's when I started teaching, but I kept my foot, in that door. And then as time went on, that just kind of slowly got less and less. And I have many friends that we all still do it, but it's not like our main income anymore. For years, that was it. That was my income. There was no teaching. There was no anything else. That my main income was singing. And then it became, about 5 years ago, I started getting more into the teaching. Teaching has now kind of surpassed the gigging. And a couple of years ago, I got involved in a band called WCR, which I was just telling you about, World Classic Rockers. And they don't work a lot, but we work like once a month kind of a thing. And we travel. It's always travel dates, and they treat the bands really well. They fly me out of my little airport here in town, which is great. And it pays really well, and it's a fun gig. And I get to sing like all the Journey. It's all Journey stuff and Whitesnake, so I'm like totally happy singing that stuff. But as far as like the wedding bands and those kind of things, when I talk to my friends who live in LA proper or Orange County, much of their work has come down a lot. So if I'd still been living there, that's what would have happened to me. I'd just be, what can we do? Can we make $100 over at this bar tonight? Let's put a duo together. Let's jump out. Because that was it I was going from here, driving 5-6 hours sometimes during like 2013, 2014, 2015, to play a couple times a month with my trio, my two buddies in Fullerton, because it's college town. So you could make a decent amount of money. But when I got home, it was like I wasn't making any money, But if I had lived there, it probably would have been a little bit okay. And we would do Tuesday night, a Thursday night, and then a Friday, Saturday night at this club or something. So you can work, but it wasn't like it was. It wasn't the, lying around the building money, job security. It was more like, all right, I got some money for toilet paper. And
if you can find it these days.
You can find it, and food and gas. And that's what it was like. And it was like getting really scary. You know what I mean? It was getting scary. Then I moved, and I moved that before that. But yeah, it's the work involved is you have to, like I do have friends and they just hustle. They're on the phones every day. I got a couple friends that do duos or even solo work, just acoustic guitar playing. And if you have that personality and you like to network, I have a friend named Mark, and he's just on the phone every day, getting this gig, getting this next gig. I'm going to play in Laguna tonight. I'm going to be in Long Beach tomorrow. I'm going to be in ba-ba-da-ba. And it's just that constant grind, and you have to stay on top of it. Those guys do well. But I don't have that personality. I'm not a very good networker. I was always more like, you have an agent and they do all that, and then you show up and I would do my job 100%, But yeah, it's the hustle is real. Like the people that hustle, they're definitely gonna do well, But there's a lot of I have some friends of mine that are like amazing musicians. They should just be getting paid to, those guys. Like just stay home and play your instrument because you're that good. Whether they sing or they play keys or guitar, it's like, wow, they are so amazing. They should just the government should just give them a grant to create things on their instrument. And those guys aren't the best networkers. So what happens is they don't get a lot of work, and then that gets sad. But it's the out hustle. It's how much are you willing to hustle? How much are you willing to work for as well? The money when bands would go and make, say $600 at a little bar in Fullerton. Well, now the last few years, a band will come in and say, well, we'll pay for $200. So what happens to that band that was making a decent living, that trio? Now they're going to try and split $200 between three of them. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and the rub is, as a vocalist, you have to stay vocally ready all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to be on. That's the other. So the hustle, what I've found in those years of doing the wedding band things is, with Boogie Nights, it was great because we had a set list of, say, 30 songs. I knew all those 30 disco songs. I learned them, like I embedded them in my brain right in the beginning. So I never had to think about them again. And that was it. Your show was gone, and you would create dance steps with your new guys and do fun stuff. But you pretty much always had the main set. You would add tunes here and there. Same thing with Spasmatics or M80s or Metal Shop. You had your core of tunes. But when you get involved in the wedding gig and the corporate band, hey, this weekend, it's Thursday, and the wedding is Saturday. You get the call, oh, they want their first dance to be this song. So they send it to you. You got to learn it. And it's like, oh, God, I had all these other commitments. I got to play tonight and tomorrow, but I still got to learn this song for this wedding dance because you don't want to blow it for their first dance. And that's a lot of pressure. And for someone like myself, I didn't like that pressure because I don't consider myself a great musician. So I have to really work. Like I have to sit down and really map out what's going on vocally, really map out what's going on the guitar if I got to play guitar and sing it as well. Where some guys can just kind of hear the guitar part. Well, my buddy Russ doesn't even think about it. He learns songs just by listening. He doesn't even pick his guitar up. I'm like, you just learned that? He's like, yeah. I'm like, baloney, play it. And he'll play it flawless. I'm like, yeah, that's a level, man. My new saying is there are levels to this game, and there's guys that just can do that. But for me, it was a lot of stress work, you know? And I didn't like everybody brings the book or now the iPad, and they put it in front of them, and they read the whole gig. I can't do that. If I'm looking at it, I could do it for the one song a night, like I said, like the first dance. I would learn at my best of my ability, put the words up, and go, you know, just make sure, you know, you already know the first verse perfect, you know. Maybe you got to read the second verse. But, you know, a lot of people bring their big books, but now they're all on iPads, but they're not performing anymore, right? They're looking, and you can see them, they're looking at the thing, and it's kind of a bummer because I know so many great performers that don't get to do their thing because they got to know these, they get thrown 10 tunes on Thursday for the gig on Saturday.
Yeah, and how do you get a song that quickly into your voice?
I tell people all the time how I do it. Like, okay, so this is me sitting next to me. So I've just been learning songs while I'm sitting at home, right? I will either write it out as I sit there and listen to it, write the first verse, stop, replay, write it, or I'll take it out. But I start and I just read the first line and I listen to it. And I read the first line and I listen to it and I read it and then I stop it and I read it like a poem. And then I read the second line. So it takes me a very long time, but I do get it in my brain. Like I embed it. Whereas, you know, other people are great at just kind of glancing and they're just great singers so they don't have to think about their technique at all. I don't have that luxury. I do think about technique. I mean, I try not to, I don't as much anymore because I had a turning point finally in my voice a few years back. But I have to embed those lyrics in my brain. And that's why I'll show up sometimes to a corporate gig and they're like, where's your book? I'm like, I saw the set list. I learned the ones I need to learn. They're like, really? I'm like, yep. So now I'm probably getting paid $1 for the gig because the amount of hours that I put in. So not that smart. I can't. So like WCR, I don't sing that many songs in this band, but one of the songs is Separate Ways. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I've sung Here We Stand, that first line of that song. I can't tell you how many times I practiced that line to get it in that pocket so the rest of the song is easy for me. So I remember it. I've sung that first 2 lines of that song. I can't tell you how many times.
Just so you can feel the pocket in your voice, like how you're going to tune the vowel, where it's going to sit.
Yep. And that's me. I got friends that don't ever do anything like that. They just wake up, and it's just this. Every song is perfect, no matter how they open their voice. Whatever the song is, Sinatra to Stevie Wonder to Journey to whatever, they can just. Boop.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about you is you're very honest about the amount of work that you need to put into your voice. So take us back. Talk about that turning point that you had in your vocal technique.
Yeah. So when we moved up to this area, my daughter was just starting high school. She graduated college already. So it's like 8-9 years ago. And, you know, I didn't have to gig as much because we lived further away. The gigs were getting slower, and it was like 2011. And so my wife had gotten a really good job here. So I was like just concentrating on my voice. Like I was going back and going through all my old lessons. I have all my old lessons. I don't have my lessons from you, though. I can't find them. I remember taking at your studio and I claimed you one time. It's only one time, but it was in Pasadena or Glendale.
Yeah. South Pasadena, yep.
But I have all my lessons from Seth in like early 2000 when I first moved back to LA. I still have them. I put them in my computer. All the teachers I studied with so many. So now I was like, wow, I actually have the time to put towards technique rather than a little bit of time toward technique, but I got to sing 6 nights a week, which is tiring. So on the days off, you're not singing. And so I started working really hard and then I would get a call. Hey, you want to do this wedding gig on the 14th? Sure. I go to the wedding gig and I'd be like, I'm going to crush because I've been practicing. And my voice was getting, to me, worse. I was like, okay, what's going on? I'm practicing more than ever, and yet I'm having a harder time. No one at the gig is really noticing, but I know what's going on, and here it doesn't feel good. Or not that it didn't feel good. It's like it's more work. And now that doesn't make sense. I'm like, here I am coming up in my mid-40s, and I'm like, because I'm 51 now, so I'm coming up in my mid-40s, and I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on here? Is this the time I got to lower keys? Is this it? Is it hit? And I never wanted to believe that. So I got really distraught. It was a long road, and I was almost willing to give up and just start a new career. I was like, I've been doing this forever. No shame. Start a new career. Didn't know what I would do because I don't know anything else, And I just kept searching on the internet. I searched great, like you, we go down rabbit holes, right?
Sure.
And it would be like Pavarotti's vocal coach, Pavarotti's teacher, Pavarotti's great technique. It's like, I got to go find, and you run across 8 million, people that you don't believe. And then I found someone, and it was just weird. I was like, well, I've Googled it. This guy's never popped up before. So I found Alex, and he didn't want to teach. He didn't want to teach.
That's Alex Kariotis.
Yeah, Alex Kariotis. Yeah. He didn't want to teach online. But I said, is this all true? Did you really study with Pola and Raimondi? Pola was Pavarotti's coach. Raimondi was a great tenor who Pavarotti ended up going to later on when he had problems with his voice. But they were from the same school, Morella Frani, that whole school that they all took from. And he's like, yeah, I'm not lying to you. This is what I did. And then I went to Mannes College. I studied with this person for diction. I studied with Dan Merrick for technique. I learned the whole Burton Coffin technique from Dan Merrick, blah, 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 blah. And it all kind of ties in with what I learned in Italy with Pola. And I was like, really? And I knew I'm such a fan of the voice. I have every book, on my table, everything. And I was like, wow, all this is true. Okay. And he sang for me and just killed it. Like, I was just like, my mind was blown. And I know it was over internet, but I was just like right there live, no questions asked. I was like, all right, would you please teach me? He's like, I want to teach Skype. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on. I promise you, I'll take 2 a week. I will dedicate. If you can make my voice. So I ended up taking from him for over a year, steadily. And though the exercises I learned were very interesting, they were a little bit different from what I'd come from most of the ones I learned from either the other classical teachers or, we became very good friends, and he was very, wanting to help me and, say, it's going to take a while, Dan. You're going to get it. It's going to take a while. But I knew I wasn't doing anything different in here. I was just doing the exercises, the new scales, right? So it's a new scale, maybe. And I was like, nah, after about a year, I didn't see any light. I didn't see the change. And it wasn't like, oh, it's going to take 4 or 5 years, because I worked hard. It's like I'm not someone that just sits around. I work. So I was like, what am I going to do here? And I said, I'm going to stop taking for a while. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. And at that time, my daughter went to Spain for a semester, and I went to visit her. So I got to see my first opera. I got to see Domingo sing baritone in Valencia for like $39. So
wow.
Cheap. Whereas in Madrid, it was like $250 a ticket to go to the opera. We went. I was like, I got to go to a real opera, It was really cool. And there was a teacher that was there, and I'd seen him on YouTube. And I was like, I was in Barcelona at the time, and I was like, I think this guy's in Barcelona. I'm going to reach out to him, see if he'll teach me. For the heck of it, I'm here. Why not? Take a lesson from a Spanish classical teacher. So he's like, I don't know. He couldn't really speak English. My wife had to translate. She speaks a little Spanish, and my daughter too. And he was like, okay, but you have to take 2 lessons this week. I said, fine. What time? I'll be there. My wife and daughter were out gallivanting, and I went to the lesson, And in the lesson, he would sing for me, and I sang for him. And he was like, nice. That's not your voice. I was like, what do you mean it's not my voice? He goes, it's a little bit of your voice. And then he sang like a scale or just the beginning of an aria or something. And he was 70-something years old. And the room just went, kind of like Alex was like that. I got to be in person with Alex a few times. And that's why I say the thing that I noticed the most from any other lesson I ever took was with Alex, I was like, okay, enough. Like you're hurting my ears. Like, this is nuts. And he's like, what? And the look on his face is, ah. And the sound coming out is literally crushing. And he would say that, like when he would study with Raimondi, he would say, Johnny Raimondi, turn your head. It's killing my ears. And they're like, what? This is how you sing. This is it. Yeah. And the Spanish guy did the same thing. He's an older man. And it was very strong. And so then he started putting me through scales. And he was doing it, no, deeper, louder. No. And then in my brain, I went, this is so funny. I love talking about this stuff. So I hope this doesn't bore anybody. I'm sorry.
I'm not bored.
I'm not really talking about myself. I'm talking about what happened. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. He's putting me through the scales. And then in my mind, I said, I'm going to fool him because I could do this. And I did it with Seth. I did it with Alex. I did it with any teacher that I ever went to, Joel Hewing, Nate Lamb, you name it. I could do this one thing with my voice where I called it fake opera man. That's what I called it. So I said in my mind, I'm going to do this scale like fake opera man. And I did it. No. And he was like, his eyes, that was it. Perfect. That was it again. All right. Did it again. Yes. You know how. I'm like, no, that's fake. He goes, no, that's your voice. I'm like, hold on. He goes, what do you do? What do you feel? Feel deep. And I go, yeah, but I feel a lot of pressure here. He goes, yes. Now. 2 months from now, no. So, poing, little epiphany goes off in my brain. Then I'm online talking with some classical coaches that I met through some forums. And one of them was legit. And I said, and I just asked him straight up, I go, dude, when you sing an aria, when you sing, is it like a fake voice? He's like, yeah. It's not your speaking voice. So now I'm confused because I grew up speech level singing and, sing like you speak and all this. Then I'm going through all my old books and I open up my original Sing for the Stars, Seth Riggs, first edition, open it up and I'm reading on the toilet probably, just whatever. That was my reading for the day. And I see on bottom of page 31, everybody, if you get your book out, in the bottom of page 31, it says, but be careful. Speech level singing does not mean sing like you speak. Boing. This sets a light off. Like, whoa. Most of the teachers I had were like, don't be loud. Don't get louder. Don't do this. Don't do this. No pressure. Then I'm reading, Great Singers on Singing. I'm reading that book. And Pavarotti, since I got it right in front of my face, and Pavarotti reads to us. And, we can't always go what Pavarotti would say because he didn't speak the language, so he's trying to put it in English, I'm sure. But there's a lot of truth to what he said. So then what Pavarotti says is, the first 5 or 6 months, it is very depressing because it does not come out right. And you become cyanotic, red in the face. Then some students begin to think this approach is wrong, which would be me all those years, and they try the other way, but it will never bring them security of the voice. And what I noticed was when I used this fake opera voice and I did my scales like this and tried, though I didn't like the sound of my voice, it was super secure. You could punch me in the stomach and the note wasn't going anywhere. I was like, this is interesting. And my chin didn't lift or go down, or my face I didn't have to make a face. I didn't have to think about my tongue. All my jaw released. Like, I always had tight jaw forever. I thought that just what happened. Most teachers would just say, oh, that goes away with time. Well, it never went away. 20 years, 25 years singing in clubs and, weddings and all that. I always had this tight jaw and high notes. The day that I decided to use what I considered this kind of fake opera man technique, whatever, involve it anyway, that was gone. There was no slowly get rid of it. No. It was the day. Then Pavarotti says, you must make the muscles the muscle, the opposite. I think muscles must be very relaxed, like you're yawning, but you must make the voice more squeezed. And so then it goes.
And that's an interesting word because voice teachers freak out on that word.
I love that word. I'm like, you go. We're squeezing today. That's what we're doing. If they can't do it, we're going down that hole. Because that hole, I can only attest to my voice and now my students that I've helped. That hole, and then he basically goes on to say, in the very beginning, that squeeze sound, you feel like you crush these notes and it has no use. But over time, it takes on the beauty in the body of the voice. And I can only attest to that because that's what I went through. Because when I went back to Alex, because now I could go back to Alex and I could go, all right, put me through a warm-up. Okay. And then I do the scales and his eyes were like, what'd you do? Because it was a few months. And I was like, I figured out what I was missing. And now I kind of understand how it all works together. At first, you get one teacher talks about the breath, appoggio, and that's all they talk about. Then you get one teacher, they talk about the larynx, and that's all they talk about, the onset, and then they talk about the jaw or the tongue. When I figured this out, everything just works together, and then I started to realize how all these exercises I learned throughout the years, whatever, I could use them to the benefit and not to just blow through an exercise.
Yeah, it's very often the old parable of the blind men and the elephant, and one's feeling the trunk and the other one's feeling the leg or the tail, and very often that's how voice teaching is, yeah, where it needs to encompass the whole.
Yeah, and it hit for me, and that was basically it. Then I could understand how Alex could hit a high B flat out of bed, like just get up and boop. Now I get that. Now I get that I can stand up, sing a high note, go down, do a push it, keep holding the note, move around, nothing moves. How I can make a sound, and whether I'm singing the low A or the high A, if I mute, you wouldn't know what note it was because my face doesn't move if I don't want it to. Because to me, it has nothing to do with the face much. It has to do with air from the lungs to the vocal cords. They squeeze, they create a sound wave. You make your mouth to the vowel, whatever it is you want, it creates the vowel. You're done. That's how simple I like to look at it now because I went through so much technical craziness. Yeah, I've known you forever, right? And the Foreman thing and all that. I mean, I've had Bernard's book and all those things from way back. So I've always been studying all these things. And now it's kind of like that, not a metaphor, just that thing of, well, it's okay, the science is all there, but I don't need it. Don't need it anymore. For me. Don't need it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think ultimately no one needs the science. I mean, the science in and of itself is very limited. I think it just can help people on their path if they're trying to diagnose just a better understanding, which
Correct.
you had, but then you got to the point where you could throw it away.
I was kind of like at the point of, oh, wow, I have all this scientific knowledge, but I can't sing what I want to sing. Or like when I meet someone like that, and they're like, my method. Okay, sing. I don't sing. So what? Your method doesn't work on you, but it's going to work on all these other students? That doesn't compute anymore. It doesn't compute anymore. My method. Oh, but I don't use my method. This is a bizarre, bizarre thing.
Yeah, and there aren't a lot of singers that will dedicate themselves to figuring out their voice the way that you have, quite frankly. I mean, you've put in a lot of work and a lot of research and a lot of study.
And
although no, you're a hard worker. And I think people should, your YouTube channel, is it Your Vocal Teacher? Is how they find you on YouTube?
I think I can make that its own heading now, but I think it's just under, I swear I don't know.
Is it Daniel Formica?
I think I think it's just under Daniel Formica. Daniel Formica. I think that's what it's under.
Yeah, so it's Formica. But if people go on YouTube, they can hear you sing. And some of it's like really casual. You'll be sitting there, you just throw up a mic and a camera. You're maybe enjoying an adult beverage and you bust out your guitar, but then you'll start singing Journey and things, and it's in a really convincing way, and I think it's incredibly impressive.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah, you're a great singer. I mean, I really enjoy your voice, and I find it fascinating that you allowed yourself. And I don't know if people can do this when they're first starting to sing, but you were at the point where you could allow yourself to experience resistance at the folds. You know, people talk about, I want to sing without tension. I say, well, that's called silence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, you have to have tension to create sound waves.
The whole idea of, you know, when I hear teachers, everything must be relaxed in the throat. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Because to me, that's where all the work is being done. Inside the larynx is where the muscles and the folds are housed. So if the larynx is pulling up because it's helping you keep the cords closed, then that's a no-no. But if you're doing all the work in the larynx and it's moving up because of pitch or style, good.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. I remember way back when I was teaching, there was the cult of the larynx that never moved. You know, and then when you begin to realize, no, that's actually not possible. It has to move for certain. But the question is, why is it moving?
Right. Is it
and
moving?
You've nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your teaching online. How do you help students find this in their voice? So they hopefully have a quicker road to this than you did.
Yeah, that is my whole goal. Like that literally I'm just like, man, if I can save you the amount of money that I spent, I mean, I could have bought another house. If you looked at I'll show you after the thing, I'll share my screen with you. You could see all the lessons that I still saved. And that's not all the lessons, only ones I could save. You'll just be like, oh my God. And you know, it's not cheap, but everything I made as a gigging singer, I just said, well, I bought a house, but I said, I want to put it into my voice. Like, I'm going to put into my career, and that was into my career because I wasn't much of a songwriter. I don't consider myself a songwriter. So my career was, I guess, voice, you know? Yeah, I mean, basically the way I teach, I listen to I always either let them sing something that they are comfortable singing. Let me hear something you're comfortable singing. And then if it's something that's not very challenging, I'll say, now what is it that you're home practicing that you can't do very well, that you're coming to me for? Because there's obviously a reason. And then they go, oh, yeah, it's this thing here. Well, let me see how you approach it. Oh, I can't even do it. And then they'll, if they can't do it, then it's just a matter of most of my teaching, I would say, stay strict to the E and the U vowels. That's it. I don't even worry about the open vowels much unless the open vowels are so weak and breathy in their chest and upper chest. Then I'll say, okay, we need a little work. You need some work there because that's your connection. You know, the connection to your body. I know it's not really like that, but the sound of, instead of there's what we need to practice. Am I going to sing like that? No. But unless I'm singing an aria. But you need this connection. And if you don't have that, gug, 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 that's not going to cut it. It's never going to cut it. If that would cut it, I would have been successful with it because no one did more of that. So once I go with that with a person, and I go, okay, it's just a gradual elimination of this. You're never letting go of this. It's just that gradual elimination of the down there. You feel the vibration because the chords are vibrating much slower. The sympathetic vibration is much slower. When you get up higher, right past the passaggio, it starts to become a ring in the voice, not so much a vibration. So E and U, and there's no veering. But I can't do it. They'll go, but what if I can't do that? Well, that's not the answer. The answer is you're going to do it. Don't change the vowel through the passaggio. Don't change the U. But what if? There's no what if. It's very simple. And then, I have little tricks. I still use like the squeaky door thing, but not the way that I used to do it. Mm-hmm. I do it much more connected. I'll do that if someone's really having a problem feeling what it feels like to go into head voice, but not let go of the chords. That seems to be most of the time.
I was just going to say, for people who don't know, the squeaky door is just making it sound like a rusty door that's opening.
Right. And with that, when I did it for all those years, I would go into head voice or falsetto, whatever you want to call it, but I wouldn't keep the chords together. So I wasn't really doing it right. So when you kind of figure out, oh, you could still go into head voice, but the chords stay closed, it's a different kind of work. There's a different feeling and there's a different work involved. And that was another, like, I just kind of figured that. I was like, okay, I can use this as a tool, but I'm basically, let's take E and U, I'll start them on like a G3 and go to D, and on E, D, 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 dun, dun. And we just go, most of the time they change the vowel and they don't know they are. I'm not changing it. Yes, you are. Listen back. And
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I did change it. And if you change the vowel, this is the one, from Alex, one of the things I learned is, the vowel, the Burton Coffin technique is the vowel determines the register. The vowel will determine. So if I sing an open ah vowel on a E or an F in the Sagio, it's going to be upper chest. It'll be like a yell, right? But if I sing ooh or E or I or it's going to be mixed voice. If it's supported. Because you can do it unsupported, and with the chords are kind of loose, the chords will be kind of loose and lifeless, and the chords need to be very taut to hold back that air. The air needs to race. So the idea of holding the breath, no. The air needs to fly, but the chords work with it. So if they're open like this and the air is passing through too much, then you get the student that goes, I run out of breath. So I need to get bigger lungs? No, you don't need bigger lungs. You need this to work better, like a balloon. If I take the balloon and go, wee, you get this beautiful tone. Sort of beautiful, right? But if I let the balloon kind of loose here, it goes, and then all of a sudden it's out of breath.
Yep.
So I kind of look at it, that's one of my analogies that I'll use a lot. I'll take my balloon out from my little table here and I'll blow it up and I'll say, and what happens is they just work together. So yeah, if the chords squeeze too much together, then that's no good. Then there's really no sound. So there's a balance. It's all about that balance, trying to find that balance, but it's never a letting go. It's never I don't look at it as ever a letting go of that bottom. It's just a gradual elimination as I go higher of that.
How do people find out more about you and get in touch for lessons?
Yeah, yourvocalteacher.com and yourvocalteacher@gmail.com if you want to email me. And I pretty much been just Skype lessons. Even I know now that's all we can teach, but that's all I pretty much ever done is Skype. So I've been doing it for a while. And then the YouTube page, Daniel Formica, you can look on that. Yeah. And,
all right, perfect. I encourage everyone to check out your material and your pages and contact you for lessons because you're a gifted singer and you spend a lot of time on the voice. And I think you have a lot to offer people.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, dude.
Hey, if you want to know more about me, please visit my website, johnhenny.com, and be sure to grab my free vocal warm-up course. You'll see it right there on the front page. And for the time being, I'm also offering my piano course for voice teachers for free. That course previously sold for $197. But I want to give voice teachers and also singers, it's very helpful if you're a singer, to be able to play the scales and accompany yourself on piano while you're putting your voice together. And I want to make that free for everyone. So you can sign up and once you're signed up, you have access to the course indefinitely. So it is free for the moment. You'll see it right on the front page underneath the vocal warm-up sign up. And if you're interested in becoming a voice teacher, I do have my online training program. Just press the teacher training tab in the menu, and that will give you all the details to learn about my Contemporary Voice Teacher Academy. It's all online, and it's all study at your own pace. So again, I thank you for listening, and until next time, to better singing. Bye-bye.